All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. We are going to be in the 147-pound division where we're waiting on the PBC announcement for the fights that they have coming up. Jaron Boots Ennis is making it very clear who he thinks he should be fighting. Meanwhile, fans are saying Errolspence Jr. should be the guy if he doesn't get that Terrence Crawford fight. And according to Errolspence Jr., before he said he will take whatever fight if the money's right. Let's talk about that. And Terrence Crawford saying that he would take that fight if you come up with the check. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back. We are in the 147-pound division talking about Jaron Boots Ennis, Errolspence, Terrence Crawford. Also, we're going to cover some of the other fighters that are in that division and what I hope to take place and what people said could take place in that division over the next 5 or 6 months. Jaron Ennis is the IBF champion. 3 belts are held by Terrence Crawford, the WBC, the WBA, and the WBO. And you have Errolspence Jr., who may still be fighting at 147 pounds. But people do not know what is going to take place. However, Errol did say that he would fight Jaron and that he would not be afraid to fight Jaron Ennis, that he will fight if the money is right. Now, before I get into it, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you guys so much. Look, I'm hoping that we can get big fights in the 147-pound division. Specifically, the Errolspence Terrence Crawford fight is the one that I think is going to take place. The reason that I think it's going to take place is because it's the most logical option for both fighters. There is a rematch clause, or there was a rematch clause for their fight. Do not know for sure if it's expired or whether or not Terrence Crawford acquiesced and allowed for it to continue. But if that fight does not take place, there's only real places for those guys to go are at 154 and 147. And the biggest fight, one of the biggest fights for those guys is Jaron Ennis, who is the IBF 147-pound champion. Terrence Crawford, in a tweet earlier this week, said that he said to Ray Jackson, shout out to Ray Jackson, tell you guys to put up the check and I'll fight Jaron Ennis. Not sure exactly who it is he thinks is going to put up that check or who he's referring to as your guys. Must be the PBC, saying that he would take it if you put up the check. Now, I don't know if he's meaning that he'll take the fight if you put the check up first, or that he says, okay, yeah, man, arrange the fight. If they're willing to pay for it, then okay. But Brian McIntyre said just yesterday that he doesn't think, he's like, there's nothing that Jaron offers to Terrence Crawford. So I think it's safe to say that that fight will not happen. Now, people have asked me about Jaron Ennis versus Errolspence Jr. and why I don't press for Errolspence Jr. to fight Jaron Ennis. It's not that I don't want to see the fight or that I don't think that it is a good fight, an intriguing fight. I do. The issue for me was the fact that Terrence Crawford and Errolspence, that Terrence Crawford holds 3 belts. And Jaron Ennis holds the 4th belt. So it just makes sense for those two to fight, especially since Errolspence Jr. said that he wanted to leave the weight class and didn't want to fight at 147 anymore. However, Errol said that he would take the fight with Jaron Ennis. So maybe if it's a catch weight fight, that's something that Errolspence Jr. would do, and I would take it, man. I'm not saying that I don't want to see these fighters fight good fights. My thing this year is I want to see more fights. I don't mind at all that Teofimo Lopez is fighting Jermaine Taylor on this Thursday, actually tomorrow. Today is Wednesday. Yeah, so tomorrow, February 8th, Don't have a problem if that fight is taking place. I'm happy that he's fighting Jermaine Taylor. Yeah, I would prefer to see him fight with Subriel Matias or have him fight Devin Haney or Rolly Romero, but it is what it is. You take what you can get right about now, especially until we get this the PBC cards rolled out for the Amazon Prime deal. But I'll take Terrence Crawford I'll take Errolspence and Jaron Ennis. I have to tell you, man, I would favor Jaron Ennis in that fight. I think that's a very dangerous fight for Errolspence Jr. at this point in time in his career, because you really, Errol's 32, 33 years old. Jaron is 26 years old, and Jaron is about as talented as you can possibly be at the sport of boxing. I do recall one time I actually got in a little bit of problem from some people that are out of that actually work with Jaron Ennis, Rasheem Jefferson. Make sure I say his name correctly because he didn't like when I mispronounced it. Rasheem Jefferson holds the pads for Jaron Ennis, said that Jaron Ennis shouldn't even spar Errol because he doesn't have an off button and he'd wind up hurting Errolspence Jr. in sparring. I disagreed with that and thought, I thought that was just a little bit much to say that this dude who just held 3 major championship belts until he lost to Terrence Crawford isn't good enough to be Jaron Ennis' sparring partner. Thought that was, he may have believed that that's the case, but if you listen to what you're saying, what it really means, that's a little bit harsh, man, because I guarantee you, man, there's no 3 belt holding guys that are sparring Jaron Ennis in his gym and getting killed in the ring with Jaron Ennis, right? It's a sparring match with bigger headgear, bigger gloves, all of that type of stuff. You can stop the fight at any time, or the sparring match at any time. I just was like, nah, man. But if Errol wants to take the fight and Jaron wants to take the fight and they set it up, hey, man, I'm all for it. Again, I just don't think that it's going to be a belt. But if you pay Errolspence enough money, the good thing about Errolspence is Errolspence will take that fight. And the reason I know, besides him saying that he'll take that fight, is because he said he wants to rematch with Terrence Crawford. If he wants a rematch with Terrence Crawford after that fight, then I doubt very much that he is going to be concerned or worried about fighting Jaron Ennis in a first fight, especially if he feels like he's in better physical condition than he was in the first one, because he just looked so bad in that fight with Terrence Crawford. But again, what I think is going to take place, I think we're going to wind up getting the fight between Errol and Terrence, and you're probably going to see Jaron Ennis in there with somebody like hopefully an Amanda Stanionis, hopefully a Mario Barrios, and so that those guys can, and then hopefully Terrence Crawford drops his belts, and then they can bring that stuff together and go for another undisputed at 147. But anyway, that's my take on that situation. I'm not calling for Errol to fight Jaron, but I don't have a problem with it, and I'm sure he would do it if the offer was there for him. Because, hey, man, he's there to get a couple more paychecks, a couple more years. He said he's here for a good time, not a long time. So let's make it happen. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.